Hello there, Vic Benedict here. We're playing Castlevania Lords of Shadow for the PC, and this is my no upgrade run for Paladin difficulty, and it's also my no damage guide and walkthrough. So I wanted to welcome everybody back to the guide, and we're currently on the 5th of 12 installments, and we're in Veros Woods, which is a level that I really detest. I find it really boring. But oh yeah, I didn't discuss the Chupacabras in this chapter. He's in several of the chapters. He's pretty much just a nuisance who steals your abilities and you have to get them back. And then in the next game, he's a fucking vendor. It's so bizarre. The next game, I was looking at everything the wrong way when I looked at the second game, because the second game, it's so disorganized, it's so disjointed. I don't even think it knows what it wanted to be. The structure is absolutely horrible. I'm staying away from the second one. I hate the second game. I thought I liked it, but I actually turned out to really despise it. Because a game like this, I love the structure. It has a really good theme to it. When, like, the organization of it, it's really organized well in like a book format when you go through the menu, and everything's narrated really nicely by, who is it, Patrick Stewart. But this area here is potentially tough if you overly depend on your abilities, because you don't have any ability here except you can counter. You just can't do any of your relic powers because the Chupacabra stole them from us, and we have a warthog to deal with here. So yeah, the 5th installment, we're going to have a boss with somebody named Bronner in the second to last chapter. And it's really simple, actually. But that's just coming from someone who's played the game just a whole hell of a lot of times, so you have to bear that in mind a little bit. So we've got some more of these. I believe I was miscalling these guys trolls. They're actually gremlins. So here's some cooperative gameplay with good old Zobek. And I think they gave you way too many checkpoints in this game. It's insane how many checkpoints they give you. And this is a pretty good representation of that, because it's a graveyard fight where you have 3 fights and they're all checkpointed. So anyway, I've left all of this in the normal way it is. And I just picked up the GTX 970. Haven't installed it yet, but it came with a game called The Division, and it was absolutely free with the purchase. And I just installed it, and I'm trying to play it a little bit. And I put it on ultra settings, and it runs at 30 frames, like 30 to 35 frames per second. And kind of surprising. You know, I paid $225 for this graphics card, the 960, and I guess you get what you pay for, because, like, if you pay another $100, you can get the 970, and it's a lot better. So I'm going to be testing it out a little bit. And I don't really know if I'm going to cover Uncharted. I might pick up a PlayStation 4 to get it. But I really am hopeful about the new PlayStation 4.5, just because the PlayStation 4 is so anemic and underpowered that it's kind of disgraceful. And if we can get games running to actually 60 frames per second at a nice resolution, I think that's a good thing. I don't understand why people are mad about it. You know, if you have to buy another one, you could just sell your PlayStation 4 and offset some of the costs. And there's always going to be somebody who might want it. But yeah, now we're introduced to vampires, and the interesting thing about this, when you first play the game and you haven't completed it yet, is that you don't have the holy water quite yet, and they throw vampires at you, and they're actually really hard to parry because they're so fast. You do get the holy water coming up, but it's kind of interesting that they throw the vampires and then the holy water, not in the inverse order of that. I should have got the parry right there, but I think he fell down or something. So if you don't know, when you're dealing with vampires, one holy water, when it hits a vampire, will put him in a grabbable state. However, if you stun more than one, then if you're grabbing one, then the other one's going to get out of his stun state. So 2 holy waters will kill a vampire, and I think that's a really good balance to have, so that it doesn't outright kill them, it just stuns them, puts them in grabbable status. So, this chapter was a little bit obnoxious just because the vampires are kind of tricky to parry. And I'm trying to withhold, well, not withhold, but what's the word? Trying to refrain from using holy waters too much. I fully realize that a run where you don't use sub-weapons and you don't use magic is much harder than, what I'm doing. But I really don't use the items that much, and I don't even use the magics that much either, unless it's to augment my parry. But a pretty bad checkpoint here because you have to set all this environment up first every time, and go back a little bit in the checkpoint. More vampires, and an enemy called a ghoul, which cannot be killed with 1 holy water, interestingly enough. And what we're going to do here is we're going to move this contraption all the way to the end so we don't have to do any of the other nonsense. Oh, the next... Okay, we're going to be doing the animated armor fight right here. This fight, I think it took longer than the lycanthropes before. Oh, see that? He almost got in a hit right there, that little bastard. But this is an enemy called the animated armor. It has that jab right there that he does. It has an overhead attack, which is... Not an overhead, but that. No, that's not... You need to jump over that. Unfortunately, the other one pacifies a little bit, but he still does attacks occasionally. But when you first go to this enemy, like when you first spawn in here, don't keep hitting it. Let him attack you and parry it, because you're going to deal a lot of damage to him right there. They're really keen on defending themselves, so if you keep hitting them, they'll just guard, and you really don't want that because you're not dealing too much damage to them. And they also will do an unblockable attack, so it's better to just do nothing. Just go up to him and let him attack and then parry him. But yeah, eventually you'll be able to tear the shield off him, and then he's a little more susceptible to attacks. And then it's a quick time event, and then a button press to take him down. But what these guys do when it's just one of them, they do I can't just... It's that right there. I don't think you can parry that. It comes out of nowhere. And this just took a long time. I don't know what this was. This is hard to know damage. So you've really got to be careful. Be on the lookout for when they're doing the unguardable hit into the ground, which does the area of effect, and you need to jump over that. Be very careful of that. And on this phase here, just watch out for them. That I should have parried that. Just watch out for when they do that pushing attack, because it ruined my run many times. Okay, we've got a little... Oh, we've got more gremlins here. Remember, they're weak to holy water. And we're going to be dealing with another animated armor. And if you die or take damage to him, you have to do this fight again, which is a little unfortunate. And this run has really been refreshing for me, because most of these enemies that I presumed were really tough in the beginning, I would always use ultimate attacks on them, and I really wasn't benefiting myself at all, because the attacks do all of the fight for you, and it's not going to help you get better at this game at all. What I was thinking of when I was fighting this enemy, though, is if you just want to keep hitting them so that they guard and then do the unblockable, you can do that and kind of make them do something like if you want to know exactly what they're going to do, you can just keep attacking them because you know they're going to guard the whole time and then do the unblockable. So, okay, so we're going to parry this, take him down. I think we're... Oh, okay. The next phase, I'm going to leave it... I'm going to leave most of the whole first part of the chapter in. And I'm going to be doing the trial. Now, on the trial, you have to destroy 100 breakable objects. And it's, I think, one of the funnest trials in the game. So you want to be doing the button press of X, Y. It does the best attacks for unbreakable objects, or for breakable objects. Just X, Y. That's all you have to do. It does wonders. Like, if you don't know how to do the trial, it's X, Y. That's all you do. Like, line yourself up. And, like, that should have hit that barrel. I don't know why that didn't hit. But you have to have holy water here to make your life a lot easier. Like, all of those barrels, every one of them, X, Y, destroyed all of them. And at this point, you should have 66. So just jump over here. And you're going to have one more fight with gremlins. And it's kind of hard to see all the barrels over here. But make sure that you toss holy waters like crazy here. And you can do a double jump over... Do you see over to the right there's a wall? You can double jump that if you want to. But I like to do the trial in the way it's, you know, normal people would do it. And a normal person wouldn't know how to do that. They would just go here. So I like to do it as I believe they intended it to be done. So one of the main issues too on this is that you may not have 100 objects that you smashed. There is a little glitch sometimes where you don't get everything, but you probably have missed something if you don't have 100. So, okay, here's the Bronner fight. There's some vampires at first to take care of. Bronner is basically a clone of Olrox and vice versa. He's got an attack with his right hand that can't be blocked or parried. And the attack you want to parry exactly is the attack with his left hand. And it's a fight divided into two segments, so very manageable, very simple. And we're going to deal with them pretty soon. Okay, so I think I'm just going to toss some holy waters here to finish these fuckers off. You know, it's really nice when they're in a group. Kill 6 at one time. Okay, there's his attacks. He's also got a move with his weapon that he throws. And he's going to do that in the next phase. So basically, you know, you just want to look for this one attack that he does and parry it constantly. Takes off incredible amount of damage. Okay. So anytime you see that white bar, that means you can't hit him anymore. Just run up to him and do the quick time event. There we go. Okay, here's phase 2 of 2. Okay, he's taking out his weapon, and I think he's going to throw it. Yeah. So, press right trigger. At about the moment it's going to hit you, just press right trigger, and you'll throw it back. Okay, so that was... I don't know how I evaded that. That was really fast. And we're just going to finish him off here. Okay, so after we take down Bronner, we're going to be in the last chapter, or last sub-chapter, and it's a fight versus 3 skeletons. It's the only fight on the chapter. Well, why do I keep saying chapter? It's fucking sub-chapter, whatever it is. The first attack that the first skeleton does is a blockable attack, and you can sync block it and parry it. Just like the animated armor, you'll notice when you're too aggressively hitting these guys, all they're going to do is block and then follow it up with an unblockable attack. So what I'm doing here is I'm just approaching them, standing there and letting them attack so that I can follow it up with a sync block and then do the really strong counter attack, direct attacks with the X button. It utterly destroys them. You have to really be careful of their dash too. They do a whirlwind attack, but the primary attack that they do is parryable. And when the camera pans down to the floor like that, it's going to tell you that you need to do the punch, which I think it's left trigger plus X. It's either that or left trigger plus Y. So you need to do the punch, or they'll get up and get some of their life back. But do you see that? I was attacking him and he was just guarding, and then I didn't attack him, and he did the parryable attack. But that's it. Kind of a peculiar enemy, but we learned how to beat them, and I hope you did too. So take care, and I'll see you in the 6th installment.